What?
So I just finished watching the season 2 finale of Doctor Who, and I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed in the whole show. I feel like that feeling just summed up the whole era of the show. Like, I wanted to like it, but I just couldn't get into it. To me, it felt flat on its face, like Cassandra. So let's jump into what I really didn't like about this era. So let's take it back a little bit. It was announced that the creator of Peak Doctor Who, Russell T Davies, was coming back on board. The man who had created my childhood. A man who had created peak episodes of Doctor Who. A man who had some really cool glasses. I was gassed when this was first announced, but then it was announced that Disney would be teaming up with the BBC and Russell to create Doctor Who, and I just didn't really know how to feel about it. I mean, Disney doesn't have the best track record for shows recently, and I just didn't see Disney's style meshing with Doctor Who. But you know what, I moved on. And then we got the announcement that David Tennant and Catherine Tate would be returning for the 60th anniversary to do some specials. And when this broke, I was so hyped. I've always loved these two together. They're just embedded in my childhood mind. And I actually really thought that could be really helpful to bring back two iconic characters to help ease in the transition into the new Doctor. I wasn't mad at the decision to bring those two back. And when those episodes aired, I actually really enjoyed the specials. Star Beast was great and fun. I mean, the male presenting Time Lord line was a little cringy, but it was a fun, intro episode. And then, Wild Blue Yonder, probably one of my favorite episodes, really took me back to those old days of Doctor Who, those creepy days with Blink and Midnight, stuff that would keep you up at night, And then the whole finale with the Toymaker. That was just a great special. But whilst those specials were really enjoyable, I couldn't help but shake the feeling that the show was trying to capture some of its early 2000s essence that it first had, that magic that brought so many people back to Doctor Who after such a long hiatus. And I just felt like it was constantly making me compare and contrast between the old era and this era. And we even get that continuing into that new era of Doctor Who, with season 1 and season 2 having returns from villains that have been present in Doctor Who, like Sutekh, the whole pantheon of the God's Law that I didn't really get, the entity from Midnight, and then even with the comeback of Billie Piper as potentially the Doctor, it just felt like this series was really playing on nostalgia to capture people, and at times it really felt like the show was running out of new ideas. Doctor Who is meant to be innovative and bring new ideas to the forefront, and I just felt like it was drawing on nostalgia a bit too much. And surely for new viewers of the show, that's got to be a little bit confusing, because like, who the hell is Sutekh? Who the heck is the Rani? And I think the show struggles sometimes because it has to explain to new viewers who these people are, and that actually takes time from the episode, which could be used to just flesh out the episode more. By generation. I mean, this just feels like such a stressful thing for me to talk about because I hate it so much. I just felt like it was a really weird concept for regeneration, because I think regeneration, I mean, we've seen it in the past, it's meant to mark the end of one Doctor moving on to the next Doctor. And I think it's important to have that abruptness of regeneration like we got with Matt Smith going into Peter Capaldi, because it tears you away from that character that you've been with for so long, and it's tough for fans at first, but it's necessary for you to start building connections and forming an emotional bond with the new Doctor. So the point of bi-generation is weird, because you have David Tennant's Doctor, his 14th Doctor, and then you've got Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor. And because you've got those two Doctors, who do you think I'm gonna wanna go on an adventure with more? And that's nothing against Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor, at that time, I don't know him yet. I have all these memories of David Tennant, he is the face of Doctor Who. And naturally, if he's still alive, I'm like, well, why don't we do more adventures with David Tennant's Doctor? Also with the Rani, I felt bi-generation was weird because we had literally been building up Mrs. Flood for the entire era of Doctor Who being this recurring character. And then all of a sudden, she just gets sidelined by Archie Punjabi's Rani. As brilliant as she is as the Rani, it just made all that build-up feel useless. I mean, what was the whole point of bi-generation? She could have just regenerated into Archie Punjabi's Rani, or honestly, not regenerated at all, to be honest. So that brings me to arguably the most important aspect of the show that I just didn't really vibe with, and that's the Doctor himself. When it was announced that Ncuti Gatwa was going to be the Doctor, honestly I was so hyped. I'd seen his work in Sex Education and I was just really impressed with his acting, and I thought he could deliver a really cool take on the Doctor. But to me, he never really felt like the Doctor as we were going into this new era of Doctor Who. He kind of just felt like Ncuti Gatwa, or he kind of felt a bit like Captain Jack at times. I mean, one thing of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor that I didn't really like is that at times I felt like he was trying to pander too much to younger audiences. Like in the context of the diegesis, it just doesn't make sense that the Doctor would be saying something like, yes babes, because he's not that in touch with modern Earth culture. He is always exploring and adventuring. And I think Russell forgot that the whole point of the Doctor is he makes stuff that are not so iconic. Like, with, Tom Baker's whole outfit, catchphrases like fantastic, Allons-y, Geronimo. I mean, these things are classic catchphrases and they're iconic. And Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor kind of lacks some of that iconic energy to me. And I just thought, instead of saying stuff like, yes babes, I mean, come up with your own thing, And on that note, I mean, the Doctor's tone felt quite inconsistent at times. I mean, I know there's a lot about the Who community talking about, the Doctor crying, and yeah, he does cry a lot, and to be fair, some of those situations are warranted, but just the fact that he cries so much, it just lessens the impact, the emotional weight of the narrative. And I just really wanted more of that darker side of the Doctor. I mean, this Doctor felt so joyous, especially with his companions. There was almost no conflict, but back to the Doctor, he always felt so happy and ready and just rearing to go, and the Doctor should have that energy, but I just thought that was a bit too much, and I really wanted him to show more of his darker side. I mean, we got a little bit of it in Dot and Bubble, but even in that episode, the Eurovision Song Contest, he's literally just torturing Kid, and we just gloss over that so quickly. And again, with the whole tone and slang thing, I really hated the whole... Wait, let me cue it.
This place is nuts! Yes, queen!
Why on earth would someone actually say this when somebody's literally just died? It just felt so tonally off, but I just hated it so much. It stuck with me for so long, and I just really hated the whole yes queen thing. I don't know. And of course, given Ncuti is queer, that he identifies as queer, and Russell identifies as a gay man, I naturally thought they would kind of embed this aspect of sexuality into the show, and they did. With the Doctor being open to liking men and his relationship with Rogue in the episode Rogue. And honestly, I think that's perfectly fine. I think it's perfectly understandable and acceptable for the Doctor to be so open. I'm sure they don't have concepts like race and gender on Gallifrey, so the Doctor is free to be attracted to whoever he wants to. That makes complete sense to me. But sometimes I do feel like the show is maybe trying to force feed you the Doctor's sexuality, and I just think it was a bit weird. Like, we don't need to be force fed the Doctor's sexuality, just show it on screen. Then you make it a whole big thing, and it doesn't just doesn't need to be a whole big thing, It can be just an aspect of his character. So with the companions, we've got Ruby and Belinda. Thanks Doctor Who for giving me new women to crush over. But on a serious note, I mean, it felt like the foundational elements of a good companion were there. Ruby was a starry-eyed young girl with the goal of finding out more about her mother being an orphan herself. And Belinda was set up as this, nurse in the NHS, just working class, having to deal with a lot of shit and being really resilient, and she has the whole goal of just trying to get back to her family. She has really important family values. You could even argue that Belinda had an even stronger start than Ruby because she actually challenges the Doctor. She has that conflict with the Doctor. She even objects to having her DNA scanned in one of those first episodes. I did feel like both characters had really strong introductions. I mean, they were so likable at the beginning, but I just felt like the way that they developed through the series just made me care about them a lot less. We didn't really get to know the ins and outs of these characters. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Who do they like? Who do they not like? Do they have any beliefs that are really core to them that maybe conflict with the Doctor or conflict with other characters in the show? And on the note of conflict, I just feel like those companions didn't have enough conflict with the Doctor. And conflict with the Doctor has always kind of created really important dynamics between the companion and Doctor, and just putting a good story overall. Conflict breeds good storytelling. It's storytelling 101. And also, I forgot to add on the point of character development. Linda's character is developing through the season, but because of the finale, all of that character development is just wiped clean because the whole thing got rewritten. So I felt so played by that finale. So all these elements that I've mentioned have definitely hurt the show, but I think no more than the key elements of the show itself, which is its writing, its directing, and its style. I thought the writing in this era for the most part was just not good. I felt like the exposition was always kind of good. I mean, it was great for the most part, but then as we got to the midpoint and then the climax, it just felt rushed and the payoff just wasn't there. It's strange because I feel like a lot of the episodes in this new era had some really cool, interesting concepts, but they just didn't really have the time to flesh it out enough. Maybe it could have benefited from more two-parters, I don't know, but I just feel like if you're gonna write the episode, make sure you can deliver in the first place. Like if you're writing the whole teleplay, you should know right then and there, surely, right? And the directing of the show is also pretty weird. I wasn't really messing with how the characters are positioned in the frame and how they are blocked in the frame. There's not many medium close-ups or close-ups, and at times it just felt a little bit soapy, if I do say so myself, like kind of EastEnder-y with the camera directions. Also, there's this guy on YouTube who like really explains kind of the pitfalls of blocking in this new era of Doctor Who. I'll link it in the description. It's a really interesting watch. And also just overall, the style of the show felt really weird for me. Previous eras of the show have felt so alive with interesting lighting, effects, color grading, cinematography, but this era felt a lot more bland in terms of its style. Perhaps this era is just more focused on realism, and it definitely had that Marvel movie-esque muted, neutral tone. It's kind of funny because you can see the culmination of that in the design of the TARDIS. I mean, look at a shot from David Tennant's TARDIS, for example. It's rich with those blues and browns. But then if you look at Ncuti Gatwa's TARDIS, it's so grey and sterile. And, you know, I'm always going to like a TARDIS design, but I wasn't feeling that as well. But I just feel that represented the whole show. It was very bland and muted, and I don't think that style works with Doctor Who. I do want to say that the production value of the show is clearly very high. It's the CGI, the sets they used, and the props were beautiful and clearly well crafted. But at times, it just felt a little bit comedic because you had this high production value and this very low production quality off the narrative. Alright, so this video has probably gone on long enough, so I'll wrap it up here. But I didn't hate this era of Doctor Who, I just thought it was okay. But just okay. Which is really disappointing to me, as I have really high standards for this show, and I think it's been it is my favourite show of all time, and I want it to be good, and you know, it can definitely be that quality again, but I don't know where we go from here. Maybe we take a break, maybe we run it back. It's hard to say. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is my first video on Doctor Who, but I've obviously been a fan of the show for a very long time. And if you guys would like to see more videos on Doctor Who, then please do let me know. And go check out some of my videos. I cover games like Kingdom Hearts, I cover music, some of my favourite albums, and definitely check those videos out. Alright, love you guys, peace.